Hello everyone, my name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Thank you for joining tonight's In the Limelight session. Hope you're doing very well. If you are joining us, we have a nice crowd. So if you are out there in YouTube or Facebook land, just type in your name and tell me where you're from. Introduce yourself so I know who I'm talking to tonight. All right, so today, as part of our Limelight session, we are going to talk to Maryna and Sarel van Staden, tag team duo from Photowise. And they have received international accolades, among which a front cover on National Geographic, among which are very well renowned, very busy in the photographic industry. And today we're going to talk about a technique they mastered called FDL, that stands for Focused Diffused Light. And we're going to chat about that in regards to automotive photography and beyond. So without further ado, allow me to introduce the pair.
Hello.
Hello there, how are you doing?
We're good, thank you, and thank you for having us.
That's a big pleasure.
Yeah.
So where are you? What have you been busy with today?
Do you want to know? Today we've been traveling. We haven't been home in weeks. I think we've been home 5 days in the past 6 weeks, and we're en route back home. Can't wait to get there, and decided to stop in Bloem so we could chat to you. So we're in the cold, and it's dark in Bloemfontein at the moment. It doesn't look like it here, but it is. So yeah.
Well, thank you for having the discussion. Thank you for dedicating time as well. Yeah, things are quite helter-skelter with load shedding and whatnot, so it's difficult to find time for everyone. But yeah, again, thank you for joining, and it's going to be a very fruitful, informative discussion tonight. So my first question from my side is, so tell us a little bit about yourselves in terms of your career, how you got started, where you're going, etc. So introduce the world to Maryna and Sarel.
Go.
Okay.
Sorry, that's always a challenge because I always interrupt him. So I'm going to behave. Okay. Go, it's your turn.
I was a town planner for many years, and then eventually I decided that wasn't for me. So I started photography. It was a hobby, and then eventually it becomes a career. Many moons ago, it's about 30 years ago.
30. Yeah.
And it just grew into a passion. The cool thing about it is you never work because we live our passion. These days, I must say, I play around a lot with light because you can create amazing stuff with light. And I think that's my main passion at this stage.
Yeah, we were lucky that COVID made us realize that we can actually slow down a bit. So we moved down to the Karoo, which gives us about 3 hours a day extra because we're not stuck in traffic and we don't lose our energy trying to deal with too many people and too much noise and stuff like that. So we are playing more and photographing again and actually rekindling our passion for it. So we work, but we also play a lot.
But we still have to come up. We have to come up to Gauteng to work. That's what we just did.
Yeah.
And next week we're in Cape Town again.
Yeah. So the move to the Western Cape has opened the Cape Town market for us more and the actual whole garden route. So it's good. Life has been good.
All right. Perfect, Giles. It's good to have the passion in your work. It's definitely reflecting in your work. As you saw with that opening video clip, some magical images. And we're going to talk about that, how you went about creating the images and whatnot. So do stick around for that. We're going to delve in that in a moment. But let's first discuss, so how do people get in touch with you? Apparently you want to do workshops still. So we have the links in the comment section. So if you want to follow both Maryna and Sarel, so website details, etc. is all there. So what do you have in plan for the immediate future?
Immediate future. Okay, so COVID did bring some changes about. We started having more time to do our light painting landscapes. And then during COVID, we got involved with Connie de Villiers and Dion Meyer on Karoo, which was a stage production. And we did the photography for the screens behind them, that was behind them on stage. And that led to a coffee table book, which basically forced us to actually go out at night and play and make beautiful light paintings of the Karoo landscapes. So that is still a biggie. We've got an exhibition running in Oudtshoorn at the moment. We had one going during Car. So we have to keep on feeding those exhibitions because things sell. We're lucky enough. So that's happening. Workshops in the Karoo on light painting landscapes. We've done some really cool things. We now can I tell them about the drone? We now do light paintings with the drone.
Oh, wow.
Easy.
Interesting.
I've already told them.
It's much easier.
We bastardized the drone into a light painting one. Tell anybody, but it's what we've done. So that's fun. And obviously there's so much there to photograph, and it's still fairly safe. And the farmers are very accommodating and very nice. They let us play all over. We even get to climb through fences every once in a while. So that's good. So that's happening. On the FDL side, we've during COVID, we did some live streams and realized that there's a market for our technique. A big following, interestingly enough, in Eastern Europe, UK, America, and a little bit from the Emirates. So we're working hard at the moment on finalizing our online training program that should be live in, I don't want to say
couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're busy proofreading it and making sure that it doesn't have a whole lot of spelling mistakes, but it is a full-on workshop on, like a masterclass on how to do the FDL, actual live shoots. It's going to be exciting. So we're finishing that. So, and then hopefully COVID blocked our traveling. We used to travel every year to go and shoot in Europe and beautiful car collections and museums. So that all stopped, and hopefully later this year we'll be back.
Yeah, we like shooting the beautiful cars, and unfortunately not a lot in South Africa available. So it's just much easier traveling overseas.
Yeah.
And we met quite a couple of good, interesting people.
Yeah, like that.
Okay,
and
awesome.
Yeah.
So if you want to stay in touch, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so if you want to stay in touch, just check out the website, and so dates and etc., times, location, etc., will be revealed in due time. Certainly worth it to learn all of these fascinating techniques. We do have a video at the end showcasing some of those light painting stuff as well. So you went to the Karoo and took some photos of a meerkat. So that's fascinating. Do stay tuned and watch that at the end. So just unpackaging some comments here. So our friend Andrew saying, just around the corner from Oudtshoorn and my side. So shall pop in around, I think.
Come play.
Perfect. All right, so let's get to it, shall we? So FDL, so in your words, what is that precisely?
You go.
Okay.
I'm behaving. Can you see?
I think what we should do is, Maryna must first tell how it happens. I think
okay.
Easier.
All right. So I get it. Okay. So, right. You interrupt then. Okay. So people always ask where it came from. It started off, Sarel has always been passionate about photographing cars. I'm not a petrol head. I like pretty cars. I like the curves and the lines in cars. So I let him talk me into photographing cars with him right in the beginning days. I think we've been at this for about 8 years now. And we had a nice automotive studio in Pretoria, but we thought that people would bring their cars. We make pretty pictures, so bring your car and we'll shoot it for you. And it didn't work like that. People with expensive cars like that don't want half the world to know that they've got them in the first place. And if they do have people knowing that they've got them, they don't want to take them out and bring them to a studio somewhere in an industrial area. So we had to go to the cars. And in the early days, the easiest way to get to a car was to go into a dealership and start pleading. You know, those, you sort of go, I'm a photographer and I want to do this. Can I photograph your cars? And you get the whole spiel about, no, they're expensive, and you know how it goes. So eventually, I still think it was the Mercedes-Benz dealership. Hey, Mercedes-Benz dealership near Menlyn, they were kind enough to let us come and play. But the rule was you can't put light stands up. We had to really explain that we needed to have a tripod. And we had to find a way to bring studio lighting to a car that's standing on a dealership floor, sometimes close to the actual shop front. So you had sunlight falling on parts of the car. So it wasn't an easy process. And we went at it like most studio photographers would. We had a softbox and we had a light, and it was way too heavy. And we had to sort of use that to light the car and try and get soft light on the car and trigger your camera at the same time. And, it was a bit too much for this girl. And I threw an infamous, quiet, orderly tantrum on the dealership floor, said to Sarel, this is the stupidest idea we've ever had. I hate it. It's breaking my shoulders and my back. I don't want to do this. And he was such a gentleman. Maybe he wasn't such a gentleman because he had the nicer gear. I had really crappy stuff to work with. So he gave me his gear and he took my gear, which was way simpler in a way, and sort of trying to diffuse this whole situation to see if he can still get a few shots in before I actually threw all my toys. And when he started shooting with what he had taken from me, he basically made a shot and looked at it and realized, oh, but hang on, this is exactly what we've been trying to
So what
achieve.
actually happened, I had the big softbox and she had the smaller one.
Yeah.
So she struggled. I gave her the bigger softbox. I took the smaller one. And then I realized because the softbox is small, this light is still harsh. So I can understand why she's throwing this tantrum. So I add another diffuser in front of this just to make the light bigger. And voila, that's what happened. And then I realized this is what we need to do. So we just need to make this technique a little bit more perfect. And that's what we eventually did. So I custom built diffusers. The diffuser itself, the scrim, I think on the 5th version.
5th or 6th. The
So
softboxes has changed so many times.
It's perfect. But when I started uploading these images, the people rave about it. So everybody wants to know how we did it and what is it. So we decided to give it a name. And that's where the name FDL, Focused Diffused Lighting Technique, comes from.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we knew that nothing is new in photography. You don't invent anything. So we basically took photography principles, photography 101 for that matter, make the light source bigger. That's as easy as it is. Okay. And we had to find a way to now hang on to it in a way so that we could maybe have an opportunity to monetize it at least a little bit, or at least get it associated with us so that we could do something with that. So the easiest way was to give it a name and link to it. And we still have to hang on to it for dear life, because we had photographers running workshops and Instagram showing they literally now say how to FDL a car. I mean, how to FDL a car. And then it's a Photoshop workflow, and FDL is almost in its entirety. Yes, there's Photoshop, but it's a lighting technique. That's what makes it. You don't. The Photoshop is just in the end to deciding on how big a car or how big a portion of the car you want in that image. That is determined by how much Photoshop there's going to happen at the end of it. But it's basically a lighting technique, and it's as Sarel said, the gear is now literally dumbed down so much that when we go on shoots, and I mean we shot for Pagani in Medina, and we both arrive with a laptop bag, laptop bag that had a camera and a lens in it and triggers and batteries obviously, and we had a collapsible softbox that fitted in the same bag, and we had a tripod bag that had a tripod and our scrim in. So we arrived with just about zero. Those guys looked at us and thought, yeah, are these people really going to shoot this part? And it was actually an interesting day. We got there, and the first thing they gave us was like a photography Bible. They said, this is the Pagani photography Bible. This is how you shoot a Pagani. And I looked at this thing and I thought, oh my word, we don't have the right lens, we don't have the right camera, we're definitely not going to shoot the angles that they want, we're definitely going to be much closer to the car than what they thought we were going to be. It was quite a thing, and we had to sort of talk our way around the photography Bible and into how we want to do things, and they were very skeptical, and then invited us to come back the next day, and then they opened up their factory floor for us and said, you can shoot whatever you want to do. So
oh wow, interesting.
It was a bit of a process, but it's minimal gear. We travel with virtually, other photographers will think that there's no ways you can shoot that with what you've got, but it's how we do it.
So they had to add a few chapters to the Pagani Bible afterwards.
We might have to rewrite it. I think it's going to have pages in it as opposed to a whole thick document like this. It was interesting.
All right, so I think I have like 5 questions to follow up with that. But I think before we get to those questions, we have a couple of videos to show. So the first one is a behind the scenes of you going about the process. So let's just show the people that so they can have an idea as to All right, so talk us through what was happening there.
It's a nice car, hey. That was
Very nice car, yes.
it was we were shooting the Shmee mobiles. So those of you who are petrol heads will know who Shmee 150 is a influencer on Instagram. I think he's got 2 million followers, and we contacted him and said, we're coming to London at some stage, can we shoot your cars? And he said, yeah, sure you can, but it was such a thing to arrange it that I thought it would never happen. So we were a bit gobsmacked still in that video when we got there. And it was this whole process to actually find the cars, because they're hidden in a basement with so many other cars, very famous owners. It was like a treasure hunt through the streets of London until we eventually got there. So the process happening there, I think you saw me in the background as well, is because our gear is so compact, Sarel and I can shoot the same car simultaneously. I can shoot on the one end and he can shoot on the other end, which makes it quite nice, because we can shoot a nice car in 2 hours and have quite a few good images from that. The process basically is what you basically saw. There's the cameras on a tripod and we handhold the scrim. That what you saw there, that was, when was that? It was before COVID.
Just before COVID.
So
yes.
2019. So it looks a bit different already. Again, that was one of the previous versions, but it's the principle. So you shoot a light through a diffuser, already diffused light through a diffuser onto basically the car. The nice thing about, we'll show you just a little bit later in Photoshop, how that lighting technique gets rid of reflections, but also scratches and marks on the car. So it's actually a beautiful way of it. The light photoshops the car for you, basically, if you think about it like that. Yeah, what do I add on that to that? That's it. Yeah, we trigger the camera and the light simultaneously from a trigger that's in the handle that we've made. We've custom made a handle.
We had to make a handle specifically for that, so that fits onto the 8200. The 8200 is the perfect light for what we're doing. So we made a handle that you can fit on there, and then you can handle this. Let me just put it on. And then we tape a trigger on here, and then you handle it. It's just much easier to work.
To trigger it from there. And then the snag of the technique comes in basically first finding the angle that you're going to shoot, because now you're looking at a car and you're seeing it with the environment reflecting in it. So half of its beauty is hidden by all the reflections and everything that's going on in the paintwork. The second thing is then to decide how much of what you actually see once you've set up your frame and you look at it through the viewfinder, how much of this are you going to light? What do you want to light? Do you light all of it? We found lighting maybe a little bit less is interesting. In the beginning, we tried to light the entire car and you didn't want to miss anything. Now we leave a lot of it to imagination.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge with this technique is that you need to know when to stop.
Yeah.
Naturally, we feel we need more detail, but you need to stop at a certain point, because this is fine art. You want to create fine art, of course. And if you like the whole thing, you might as well do it in the studio.
It makes it a little bit difficult, sort of, if your client is a OEM and they want to launch a new car with your pictures. So you've got to make very sure what it is that they want to show, so that you don't think, oh, it's something I'm not going to light, but it's something they actually need in there. So I suppose it's like with any photography brief that you get from a client, you need to know what the expectation is. But a lot of the cars that we photograph, especially the ones that we photographed in Europe, we were photographing for ourselves to build our own portfolio and our online stock library. So we had creative license to do as we like. But the interesting thing is, Sarel and I can photograph the same car at the same time. We can even shoot the same angles, but our photographs are never the same, because
it's a creative process.
Yeah, you see it differently. And you know, as I said before, I get turned on by the curves and the lines on cars, and Sarel by something completely different. So we, you know, you on the same part of a car, we see completely differently. And that is also one of the things that makes it so nice, because we'll sit in Eden, I'll say, see, let me see what you've got. Oh no, mine is something else, you know, so it's fun. It is it's really truly a creative process. That's why we call it fine art. Hello.
Now it's a little doggy barking in the background. Sorry about that.
It's okay. You know, it truly is car fine art, because you are the artist deciding how much of this car is going to be there and what is it going to look like. How is it lit? From where was it lit? It's yeah. It's each one has his own process and his own result in the end.
I'm sorry, just had to mute myself. The dog's still going ballistic. Yeah, so a couple of questions I want to ask. So just to reiterate the technique itself. So we have a diffused light, that being a diffuser on the light itself, shooting through yet another diffuser. So with it, you get quite close to the car as a means of creating that bit of contrast, a bit of focused lighting that just aids the technique and also creates, you know, interesting lines across the curvature and the body of the car itself. Now, do you composite the images on top of one another? So you have a collection of images, and in Photoshop, you kind of pick and choose the right bits to go to the complete image?
Yes, we do. So what you basically do is with a small portion of the car, we shoot on average 10 to 20 photos, light them all from different directions. And then what we do in Photoshop, you select the 4 or 5 best photos that you will eventually think will make up your final image. And then you layer them on top of each other and you just select the best part of each one. The cool thing about this is the fact that the light is not always coming from the same direction. So if you can combine this whole image into a final image, it's a work of art. What I'm trying to say is a lot of the guys that's doing computer-generated images is contacted me and asked me if this is computer-generated. And you can't do it with a computer because the light is coming from different directions.
Yeah, so basically what he says is if you, it's also why it is so nice as opposed to a conventional studio setup. You know, you set up maybe 1 or 2 lights, so your light is always coming from that direction until you move the whole thing again. So typically in a studio, you would try and build all your lights, your entire lighting setup, and you shoot your shot. So so now we can, you know, I approach the actual shoot a little bit differently. I try and shoot for any eventuality. Sometimes when I look at a car, I can almost pre-visualize what I want to do with it. Then it's easy. Then I shoot the 4 or 5 angles of light that I think I'm going to need to build my picture. But sometimes I don't. Then I just shoot the whole lot, and then I have to select them at the end. So yeah, it's important. You need to know how to layer in Photoshop, and you need to know how to mask, and you just brush it in. And then, as Sarel said earlier, you need to know when to stop, because you tend to get, it's very therapeutic. I get myself in a bit of a sort of hypnotized state brushing car pictures. But yeah, so that's basically the process. Some of the images that you saw in that opening video, on the Corvette, for instance, those are single shot images. So it depends on how, you know, we like the cars from the classic cars from the 1950s and early 60s, because they had those beautiful combinations of round curves and hard lines, if that makes sense. So with those, they tend to light easier. If you photograph something like a Lamborghini or something that's mostly hard, flat angles, you shoot a whole lot more, you know, so to actually get shape in them, if that makes any sense. So some are single shots, some, if you shoot an entire car, if you want to build a full car, then sometimes it's 20, 30 images that you end up having to work into your final image.
Shooting full cars are very difficult.
Yeah, well, because the cars are in funny places very often, so you don't have enough space to actually back up a bit to get away from it. So it just makes it hard. Yeah, and you've got to watch.
Also imagine. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I said you also have to watch for lens distortions and things like that on the car. So it's not a matter of confined space. Oops, let me whip out my widest lens that I've got. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to end well. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I also think with this technique, getting very close with the light also in a way blacks out the background as well, underexposes the background.
It's
So in
exactly
terms
that.
of distractions and whatnot with the environment around the car, as you said, you need to shoot on location more often than not. Pushing the light very close, you have all of the exposure precisely where you need it, and you kind of underexpose the background with it as well.
Exactly. And that's what I was referring to earlier when I spoke about photography 101. It's basic photography, and everybody is expecting this to be such a complicated process that they forget to think about photography 101. So we have hardcore, very experienced photographers arguing with us, telling us that we're editing in black backgrounds and whatever. We're not. It's a lighting technique. It's photography 101.
All right. So I have this video to show. It was from one of your previous workshops, and it was part of a trend back in the days, the mannequin trend. So what this shows is a bunch of people shooting cars. But all of them are standing still. Yeah. So let's have a look at this. And I think this also showcases the different types of gear that can be used. And maybe afterwards you can tell us which combination of gear is the best. So let's have a look.
That's a blast from the past. Oh my word! Yeah, that is a photography club, actually.
It was a photography club, and we did this technique with them, and it was quite fun.
See some of us just sit in a corner and drink something. Yeah. So what you saw there is literally, it's a club. So we told them, you bring a camera lens and a tripod and bring whatever you've got in terms of a flash and a diffuser, and you'll get a shot. The big thing is, we've been at it for 8 years, and it's a process, it's a journey. You're going to shoot and you're going to get good shots from the very first one. Especially, I think if you look at some of our live streams or our online training, you're going to get those shots. But it's hard work. You have to almost, in a way, develop with the process. As I said, our photographs are not the same, and we've been at this together for 8 years. So it's a process that'll grow. You'll get better. You'll shoot less. In the beginning, you tend to overshoot. That's true. And over-edit and layering too many layers. And then you get really good at finding those shots and those angles. And, we often
like
get,
any other photography, the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. And we're getting more one-shot wonders every once in a while now. So it's like literally, you get a feeling for it. It becomes intuitive. So, it's a process. It's a growth process. Our industry, Conrad, and especially South African industry, is rather fickle. So people say, why do you teach the competition to do what you do? It's not that. We can all know how to do it. There's nothing new in photography. It's all in the public domain. Somebody's going to figure out it eventually. But it is where you go once you know what it is. What do you do with it? How hard are you prepared to work at it? How is it going to develop basically for you in the process? And we're very lucky, and since we've moved to the Karoo, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, we have more time to play. So we're already on to the next thing. We're already working on new techniques. So, we might as well share it and spread the news a bit and share the joy, because it's been good for us. It really has been.
Now, just in regards to what you said in terms of sharing information, it's marketing science. Once you open up options and availability, different avenues for your client base and other bases as well, the more demand it creates. So it's good for everyone. It's good for the industry to get that information out there.
Yes.
Definitely.
All right, so what I saw, different gear being used. It was very fascinating. I saw a beauty dish with a diffuser plate shooting through a scrim. I saw a flash with a diffuser dome on it, also shooting through a scrim. I saw somebody shooting through a half-complete softbox. So it's a speed ring with the rods and the diffuser in front of it. So,
okay, so it started off. It started off with a softbox and right in the beginning, a softbox and we couldn't use the light in a S bracket because you want to vary the distance between your diffusion and your light. So we started off with a softbox and then decided we don't need the sides of the softbox because it was also causing edges. You could see the softbox imperfections and we didn't want that. So then we sort of got rid of the sides of the softbox. So it was a dismantled softbox and a ring. Then the beauty dish that you saw with the diffuser plate is a piece of perspex certificate. That was something this is almost where this started before the cars. That was something we used to teach, and that sort of connects up with the meerkat story at the end again. It's a technique how we taught our club members and our students to underexpose a background and use a flash to overpower sunlight so those dishes. And then when the cars thing started, we started off with that dish. That was our first softbox, which is now a softbox, but it's not really, it's a box. I don't know what to call it. So what you saw in that video was our process. It's how it went and how we passed it on to our students. And as I said,
and that's where we started. So we grow through that. And like I said previously, is we are on the scrim. So the challenge is with your scrim. The scrim mustn't have creases in it. We use different softboxes, different sizes of boxes now.
Different diffusion materials. It was a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, and every week we rediscover something new. So, but we've got a few sort of hard rules now. You can't have creases in your scrim, so it has to be tensioned nicely and things like that. So those are the things. But it was a process. We've gone through all of that. In the opening video, you saw us using we started off with camera flashes that we just straight camera flashes, and then we tried various flashes to get through the process, see which one is going to be the best. And then those round flashes came in and we thought, okay, that might be it because it sort of gives you a different light, and let's see if that won't help with the diffusion. And then we tried the 8200 and it stuck. I don't think we'll move on from that. We've gone from 8200s to the pros now. We own so many of those, and we've got 8200s that are refusing to die. I actually said to somebody, I just would die now so I can get the pros, because there were some glitches sorted out in the upgrade of the light, but my lights won't die. So I didn't realize that.
200 is just the perfect size and the perfect strength as well.
And so many we can shoot entire car shoot on a battery.
Yes, and we're talking about 1,000 shots.
Yeah, that we're getting out of the battery.
And the cool thing about the 8200 is the fact that you can add different modifiers in front. And that works like a dream.
Yeah, it's
really we tried all of them.
Yeah, been through the process. So
trust us. Traveling, it's also a dream to travel.
I can imagine.
It fits anyway.
That's been such a revelation with the speed lights, like the 8200 is not strictly a speed light, but speed light form factor. But it's the compactness of it, and that lithium-ion battery makes a big difference as well. As opposed to using a bucket full of AA batteries, you have that block of battery, and it just lasts the entire day.
Yeah, we don't own any speed lights anymore. We do absolutely everything. Well, we've got the 8200 is sort of our go-to for the car stuff, and we've got 8300s too, which are also awesome. They're just too heavy for doing the FDL, because you're taking so many shots, and you've got to think about it. You're lifting your diffuser and a light, and it's sort of a cantilever effect away from your body, so it does get heavy eventually. So the 8200 is perfect for that. It still gets you you get nice biceps. I'm going for a shoulder op because I broke my.
Oh dear.
I've now damaged ligaments from photographing cars, I think.
I think the biggest challenge with our photography style is to get the cars. And once you get the car, you don't have much time. So we try to get in as many shots as possible. So on a normal day, if we have access to cars, we shoot on average about 3,000 shots. And now to lift that scrim and the flash 1,000 times becomes very heavy. So that's why we redesigned the whole thing so that it's light and easy to handle. And that's why the 8200 is a perfect flash for what we do.
Okay, yeah, makes perfect sense. All right, so to confirm, use the light with a focused beam of light, double diffused through a couple of different light modifiers. A scrim is important because you don't have the frame as what you'd get with a softbox. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so I think people maybe want to see what the results look like in camera. So you have a Photoshop on your site set up, so you can just guide us through the process. So I'm going to pop that onto screen now so people can just have a look and see what, the results look like in camera and what all of that builds towards a final result. So let me just pop that in.
So the process starts for us. The workflow starts for us in Lightroom, where we you basically use Lightroom to
this one.
Okay. So, all right, let's just run through this. Sorry about that.
This is just to show if you use just a normal softbox. Softbox have edges, and that's what you can see in the car as well. So you can see all the scratches and stuff. And once you add a diffuser in front of that, you get rid. So this is a one shot. So you get rid of all
magical,
scratches, and your detail is very soft. The same with this one. This was done with a small softbox. You can see it here. So it's a long, small softbox. And then we add a diffuser in front of that. So it's just one. The only difference is the diffuser. So the way you handle is the distance between it, the angle of the light, that's quite important. And the diffusing material that you use. And then if I can explain the layering just quickly, there's your, let me just do this. So there's the original photo, and then these are just 3 different angles that I shot. And then what you do is just normal layering. So you start with the first one. You add, sorry.
Sorry, he's now working on my laptop.
No
worries.
Second one, and you add a layer mask to that. And then what you do is, I'm just going to do this very quickly. You invert it, and then you jump between them so that you can see where you want detail and where you don't want detail. So what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of detail here of the photo underneath, and then if you go back, I want that detail that's gone, and I bring that back. So it depends. It's a technique, and you need to play with it so that you can develop your own style. And that's why Maryna said that if I do a shoot and she does the same thing, we'll come up with different photos because you see different detail. Okay, and then once I'm done with this, I go to the next one. I add a layer mask, I invert it, and then again, now I want detail in that area. So I'll start adding that and a little bit on top. And like I said, the important thing is you need to know when to stop. And then you just flatten them and you cut the whole image out and you add your dark background.
So the adding of the dark background is necessary when you have the scrim sort of like as you have in this image, where it's sort of in your shot behind the edge of the car. And I don't know if you've seen Sarel's recent work. We've been putting a little bit of detail back in the backgrounds. It's also one of the reasons why he deep edges his images. I don't do it.
So in the beginning, we didn't add anything in the background. So you have complete dark backgrounds. And now if you start to add a little bit of...
It's sort of what the trends are asking of us. They want sort of a bit of something happening behind the cars now. So it's also just that process of adjusting and adapting to what the market wants. Because in the end, I mean, we in this for basically selling images, if that makes sense.
All right. So can I close first?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, it's fascinating what you say about knowing when to stop. I've received this advice to use an analogy as such. It's like fashion. The last item you put on is the one that you need to remove because you don't want to over fashion. You don't want to over accessorize. So I think that's a good principle to apply to photography as well. Like as soon as you get to something, pull it back a little bit.
Yeah, and when you get to a point where you start wondering whether you should, it's your gut telling you you shouldn't. So just don't get rid of it. But it's a process, and as I said again, sometimes your client's depictive. Sometimes you have to make an image that's not your favorite, but it's what the client wants. Then you also have to do that.
Absolutely, yeah, that was brilliant. That was very fascinating. So just a reminder to the audience, we have a big selection of people watching still. So if you have any questions to ask, please do drop them in the comment section and we'll tackle them as we go along. So hopefully that explains FDL, focus diffused light. So pretty much in a nutshell. So we can just confirm a couple of things. So it's modifying your original light source and then shooting that through a scrim. Get the light quite close to the card itself or the subject. That will create a nice contrasty, focused soft light. And with it, you can black out the background with it too as well. And I think it's about being selective with what you want to light versus what you don't want to light. And I think that's just something that you get into personally. It's being selective, but it's a personal taste at the end. But obviously, as Maryna and both Maryna and Sarel said, it's often what the client wants as well. So it's a little bit of experimentation here and there. So it makes perfect sense. It's almost the magic revealing itself in front of your eyes. So it was super informative just watching how everything unfolds.
Yeah. The nice thing about the lighting techniques, it makes shooting dark cars, like black cars, easier as well. In a studio, black car is always the one that gives you the hardest time to photograph. With this technique, it's the other way around. White cars are not so much fun. So how do you get detail back into that so that you actually almost have to invert your process a bit to get the detail in the white cars. So yeah, it's fun. Go and try it. Well, go and look at our tutorials and then go and try it. You'll get all the nitty-gritty little details in there. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, as a reminder, all those links are in the comment section. So go visit the website. Follow both Maryna and Sarel, Photowise. It's also card fine art as well. All the links are supplied in the comment section. So in terms of tutorials and whatnot, everything is available out there as well. Yeah. Okay, so as promised, we're going to show the meerkat. So we're going to have a little video here playing. So just in terms of what we spoke at the beginning, so doing your career trips and workshops there. So this will just provide a bit of insight there. So let's get that playing.
Sarel and I have been shooting for an ongoing book project in the Karoo. Our project involves, amongst other things, creating with artificial light sources in various different ways to show the Karoo and its magnificence as it has never been seen before. One of our projects is to overpower sunlight with flashlight, and the guys from CameraStuff gave us the Godox 8300 Pro and its softbox to try and report back to them. I must admit we were impressed from the onset. It is a small, light and very easy to use light, opening up so many opportunities to create with light even in direct sunlight. We now have the freedom to create any time of the day instead of having to wait for the golden hour or getting up with the birds. Instead of waiting for the light, we are now creating the light. On the farm, Karooplaas, we were introduced to the cutest little meerkat called Connie. She's named after the sound she makes. She's just so cute and so adorable. We decided that this would be the perfect opportunity to try out the Godox 8300 Pro and the Octobox. Using flashlight to overpower ambient light, and yes, even sunlight can be overpowered. The first secret is that the flash must be very close to the subject. This is a nice, biggish octobox and very easy to use. Its function is to increase the size of the light source, thus creating beautiful soft light on our model. This is the second secret. The bigger the light source, the softer the light. it is almost the same as creating studio light outdoors. The third secret is to underexpose the scene by about 2 stops. Easy to achieve. Close the aperture down, drop the ISO, and set your shutter speed to 125th of a second. We also add a polarizer to lose more light. Because we were shooting in bright middle of the day conditions, we had the power of the light set to full power. Use the softbox to cast a shadow over your model as close as you can to her, and then try to keep up. Good luck with that. Thank you for this incredible light camera stuff. We had so much fun. Follow us to see more creative ways for using artificial light sources and what we had done using the AD300 Pro.
All right, very interesting watch indeed. So yeah, these videos are also available on your YouTube as well. But if you want to rewatch what we did today, this video will also be available on YouTube. So if you want to check out what has been mentioned before, by all means, just repeat the video or go find the videos on Photowise's YouTube channel as well. So I don't know if you have a couple of things to add to that video. Maybe in particular the light painting that you did initially in the video.
Yeah, so as I said in that video, it's all about creating with light and using what you've got with you. If you've got a flash and a softbox with you, for instance, you can do about anything, any time of the day or night. So we like to use artificial light sources when we photograph. We do all kinds of unconventional things, I suppose, with those. But it's fun. In our workshops, we, for instance, do landscapes. We do the light paintings that I told you about earlier, and that we play with the drone these days, light ones, using those to do light paintings, light painting landscapes. In the Karoo, there's just so many things to photograph. Also portraits, basically the same technique we used on Kur here to do beautiful portraits on location and in the landscape, photographing the people in the landscapes. So it's the workshops are not only painting with light, it's basically working with light. So your artificial light source, and we'll show you how you can have fun with it outdoors. We will be running workshops in the Karoo this year. I haven't got the dates with me, so please drop me a mail. I think the easiest way to get hold of me is actually just to drop me an email, Maryna at Photowise. Do not email this guy. You won't get an answer. So if you need to do some
I'm
talking,
building lights and I'm do the driving while she's do the
yeah, so I'll do that.
I'm in the same boat there.
Yeah.
Terrible emails.
Yeah, so drop me a mail and I'll send you the details. We live in the Klein Karoo, which is beautiful. It's green, it's the mountains. We're basically stuck in that narrow strip between the Swartberg Mountains and the Outeniqua Mountains. It is incredible. Everything and anything you could possibly think to photograph, from little Kur and his buddies and tortoises and sheep and things like that, but also landscapes, ruins, interesting people with very interesting features. So it is fun. If you don't want to join one of our formal workshops, phone us if you're in the area. We're always going to go and play a bit. So any excuse these days to go and play us. It has made us lazy. But yeah, so do contact us.
What I found interesting was just how the principles of photography, the basic fundamentals. Now, once you have those ingredients, you can create a lot of different recipes. So this isn't Harry Potter, witchcraft, or anything of the sort. It does look magical. The end results are indeed magic, but it all comes down from just having the principles of photography applied, and just a know-how and knowing how to combine everything.
Many photographs. You have to photograph. You can't get better if you don't. You don't go out.
And I think the cool thing about today's photography is the fact that we're shooting digital. You can immediately see the results, and the fact that we can shoot wireless now with lights just makes our life so much easier. So you can basically make a beautiful photo out of anything if you know the concept.
Basically the toolbox of same skills, different recipes. It's basically exactly what you said, Conrad.
All right, perfect. Okay, so a couple of last questions that I want to end up with. So any advice to new photographers out there? So anyone getting into the game, what advice would you give those newcomers?
Shoot a lot. Shoot a lot.
Lots and lots and lots. Don't go indoors when there's bad weather. Cloudy weather is the best weather. Go out when you think the weather is shitty. You'll make incredible photographs. I always want to say, don't overplan a shoot. Pack your gear. Make sure you've got a decent lens. You know, if you've got a little bit of gear with you, you become more creative because you've got to make it work. So don't overthink. Make sure you've got a camera lens and a charged battery. Those are the important things. And then go out and experiment, play, throw a tantrum every once in a while. It leads to good things. So go out there and go and sickle. You're going to become amazing. Just keep at it.
That's the journey that creates the solution. And I think some very good lessons to learn from this video that we had. So a couple of things I want to mention, how necessity breeds innovation. You know, listening to you talk about, you know, all the little McGafters and doohickeys that you have create a working system that is bespoke to you and what you do. So go out there, experiment, try out different things. So as I said, it is the journey that creates the solution at the end. And I think this perfectly illustrates, your work perfectly illustrates that.
Yeah. I see somebody asked a question about high-speed sync.
Let's get that in.
We're too old and too stupid to do that, to be dead honest. No, yes, of course it'll work. And yes, you can open up your aperture if you want to and use a faster shutter speed. But you don't have to. If you don't have the gear that has the ability to give you that, you can still get the shots.
I think the biggest problem of this is if you're shooting on 2.8, you're working with an animal that's moving the whole time. So to get focus is a difficult part now. To get enough depth of field on a shallow depth of field like that, it will be incredibly difficult. Yeah. So yes, you can do it. We just found it's better doing it the manual way, shooting an 125th, close aperture completely, underexpose it in that way. For us, that just works better. Working in manual mode with the flash and the camera just give you much more control. No, I must say, up to this point, we never ever used our flashes on TTL. I discovered that about a month ago, that the flash actually has the TTL. We only work manual mode.
You know, of course, and technology changes and it makes these new things available to us. But if you work in manual, like we do, we shoot on flashes in manual and we don't shoot high-speed sync, like when we go out photographing little critters that are moving targets, children also. You know, as Sarel said, if you work the manual way, you have to think about what it is that you are doing. Then you can look at your result and say, oh, but I don't like this, and you can make the adjustment. But the whole time you're forced to think about the entire process. I've got to think about aperture, shutter speed, all of the exposure settings on the flash as well. And then when you then make those adjustments, it's something that's now stuck in your head. You know, you've thought about it, you found a solution, and you've learned something. Where if your flash is on TTL, you first have to go try and figure out what the flash did for you. So doing it the hard way is a good way to learn. And then by all means, if you can nail a focus on a moving target with an f2.8, you need to come show me how to do that, because I can't even know how to do that. But then use the technology, but go and learn to think about your photography first before you go there.
That's an interesting debate, this one, the high-speed sync versus non-high-speed sync one, because I do find that the background is a character in itself as well. So if you blur the background to hell, you kind of lose the environment, you kind of lose that added character in the shot as well. So high-speed sync is certainly a wonderful technology. Make use of it for its intended purpose, but also don't forget about the background. And the background can add a bit of something to complement or contrast
Yeah.
the subject, so it just creates a bit more extra storytelling in the image.
Yeah, so Kuru was photographed for Karoo stories. So we had to tell the story, and a little meerkat's environment is his story. It's actually his only story, and the fact that he's cute. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, of course.
you can't, just blur it out. It has to be there. But yeah.
All right, yeah. So thank you for the question, guys. If you have any more, I think we're going to give it about 5 or so more minutes before we end the discussion. So maybe from Maryna and Sarel, do you have any shout outs out there? People that you want to thank for your contributing to your journey, helping out, etc., etc.
The patient clients that still wait for us to come up to Gauteng. No, I think my first shout out would be to you guys at CameraStuff. We've
Of
come
course,
with
yeah.
weird and wonderful requests into the shop, you would know, and poor old Brett, I think he just shakes his head half the time when we tell you what you want to do. You're there. But the main thing is that the gear and the advice that you give people in store has given us street credit. I can send clients to you and they're going to get gear.
That's awesome.
So for that, yes. We've had so much support from everybody, and we've got a sort of a regular following. Those are the people that we sort of days when you don't feel like going out working, that you actually get up and you do go and work. You sort of feel a little bit obliged. So there's so much support. I can't single anybody out. I think we shouldn't. It would be too dangerous. To everybody who supports us and to us and come to our workshops and just asking us what we're up to and what are we busy doing. Those things matter. It gives us purpose. And it fuels our passion for what we do. So don't lose your passion, guys. Don't let anybody steal that from you. Photography is fantastic, so just hang on to it. That's for sure.
Now, before the robots take over.
AI.
Yes.
Yeah, thank goodness.
All right. Yeah. So they're the same here. I have a couple of friends who keep on dropping their AI creations in my inbox, kind of, poking the bear a little bit with it. Yeah, but I think that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, I think in the meantime, this has been a wonderful, insightful interview. I've learned quite a lot just to see, as I said, the magic unfold in front of my eyes. Brilliant work, and thank you for sharing the information as well. To everybody watching out there, if you want to stay in touch, if you want to join future workshops, see what they're up to, the links are in the comment section. Show a bit of support, follow them and see what they get up to. And I think that's going to be it from my side. So I'm ready to say goodnight. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
No, thank you for having us. And thank you to all of you who came and made the effort to come and listen to what we waffle about. We appreciate that. Keeps us going. Thank you.
Okay, so that's going to be it from my side. So safe journey home. Finally going to be home for a little bit.
For 2 weeks.
It's going to take it, ne?
Yeah.
All right, so that's it from my side. That's going to be
you.
it from myself, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff. Hope you have a pleasant night further. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you to Maryna and Sarel. So until next time, cheers, cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.